Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here, General Garland. This summer, the House passed H.R. 4, the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which would strengthen Sections 2 and 5 of the Voting Rights Act. And also this summer, the department announced that it was suing the state of Georgia under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And I commend your department for working to protect the rights of all Americans to vote. General Garland, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act prohibits voting practices or procedures that discriminate on the basis of race, while Section 5 of the Act mandates that changes to voting practices in certain covered jurisdictions be pre-cleared by federal authorities. With the Supreme Court having nullified Section 5, in effect, the pre-clearance requirement by ruling that the coverage formula was unconstitutional, does the department view Section 2 litigation alone as adequate to safeguard voting rights, or must Congress pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and reinstate Section 5 in order for voting rights to be adequately safeguarded?
The Justice Department supports that act. Section 2 is what we have. Section 5 is what we need.
Knowing that the House has already passed H.R. 4, does the Justice Department support passage of the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act in the United States Senate?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. On September the 4th, 2021, DOJ announced an investigation into Georgia prison conditions. The New York Times reported that over 25 incarcerated persons died last year by confirmed or suspected homicide in Georgia prisons, and 18 homicides, as well as numerous stabbings and beatings, have been reported this year. What is the timeline for this investigation, and will you commit to briefing the committee and the Georgia delegation on the results of the inquiry?
We are doing that investigation. It's pursuant to a statute which authorizes the Civil Rights Division to bring those kinds of cases. I can't tell you what the timeline is. These kind of things take a considerable amount of time. And I'm not sure what the legal requirements are with respect to briefings outside. This is now in court, and so I'm not sure what additional material can be provided outside of what we provide in court, but we'll look into it for you.
Thank you. Much of what is known about conditions in Georgia prisons is derived from social media posts, including video footage posted during a prison riot last year. How are social media and the use of smuggled smartphones by inmates aiding DOJ in its civil rights investigation of Georgia's prisons?
Sorry, I don't know the answer to that question, but I'll see if I can ask at the Civil Rights Division how they're using that material.
All right, thank you. Mr. General Garland, the Sackler family has used every trick in the book to escape accountability for their role in the opioid epidemic, including abusing the bankruptcy system to secure civil immunity from their victims. And now Johnson & Johnson has scrambled its organizational charts to put tens of thousands of legal claims into bankruptcy to avoid further liability for its cancer-causing talcum powder. Do you believe culpable individuals and corporations should be allowed to use the shell game to shield themselves from liability?
I don't know anything about the second example that you gave. As to the first, the Justice Department's bankruptcy trustee has weighed in to appeal the decision to immunize from personal liability, and I think that matter is now pending in court.
Thank you. Lastly, I will note that there's been a lot of discussion by my friends on the other side of the aisle about local school boards, and I will point out the fact that there are reports that restrictions on the discussion of race and history in schools, these laws that are being put forward by Republican-led states, are causing administrators to tell teachers that in addition to having an opposing view on slavery, now they are saying that you've got to include an opposing view on the Holocaust. If you have any books that are teaching about that, you've got to have an opposing view. This is the danger that we...
The gentleman's time has expired.